Life is a beautiful mess. A beautiful mess. Yeah. Life is a beautiful mess. A beautiful mess. Yes. Life is a beautiful mess. A beautiful mess. I'm trying, I'm crying, I feel like I'm dying. I'm doing my best.
Well, welcome back everybody to Being Human and Other Shit.
Hey.
My name is Stacy. This is my beautiful host, Melissa. And today we have my cousin Brett, this little fucker. He's going to talk to us about the realities of recovery. We're going to get into the real nitty gritty of shit. So, Brett, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Always nice to sit with fam.
Yeah.
There I go. Clicking my watch again. That's that nervous
Do it.
tick.
Listen, we told them it's going to be weird at first. We're going to get right into it. So, we're going to kind of start with you just talking about like your background. And then we'll kind of just get into the real stuff.
We're just jumping right into this, huh?
We're going for
You
it.
guys had nothing else to say? You just want to start interviewing me?
Straight up.
Just interrogation.
Straight
huh?
in. Listen,
Man.
we could turn that light brighter if it makes you feel more comfortable.
We can put it over you.
Yeah. Turn the fan off and just start sweating.
Well, yeah, and you could kind of start however you want. Like, if you want to talk about what you do currently and then go into your background, I feel like we should just get into the grimy shit.
Are we just going to get into the Grammy shit?
Let's get into it.
I don't know. So I'll just tell my story, I guess. I mean,
Perfect.
I'll try to make it quick, but you know, I had a good family growing up, right? We had a good family. We did a lot of stuff.
Hobby.
Right? The best cousin ever. Talk about me. So I don't know what led me to start using drugs or what led me to start drinking, because I started drinking first, right? But I remember being at my dad's house. That's where it kind of all started. He would have out in the garage, he just had his alcohol just spread out over in a corner of the garage, and me and my cousin TJ, we would just find the cheap shit, right? The shit that they never drank, and say, well, they're not going to know if this is missing, so let's start drinking it. Like 12 years old, right?
Yeah.
All been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all been there.
And then it's like, oh shit, it's getting low. The white wolf's getting low. Let's put some water in it, right? The pop-off's getting low. Let's put some water in it, right?
You haven't been a teenager if you haven't filled up your parents, your aunties, your uncles, whatever, stolen liquor and filled it up with water. I'm
Literally.
sorry.
Yeah.
You have not lived.
You haven't.
Exactly. So we were doing that for a while, and I remember like we would fill up a water bottle, like a Crystal Geyser water bottle full of vodka, and say, okay, let's try to chug the whole thing. Like, it was never about like the taste of alcohol for me. It was never about, it was always about the effect, right? And how fast can we get that effect? And so I got tired of waking up hungover all the time, right? So it was like, okay, what's the next best thing is weed. So we start finding people who smoke weed. Let's get some weed. We start smoking weed all the time, and then my dad had back surgery, and he had all these pills. He had under his desk in his office in the house, he had a 5-gallon bucket under there, right? And it had all his prescriptions in it, and he never liked taking his Norcos because he didn't like the way he made it feel. And if he did need to take one, he'd break it in half and he'd pop half of it.
This is all still at 12?
13.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. And I remember saying, like, let's go try those. Let's see what they do. So we went and we grabbed like 6 apiece.
Oh my gosh.
And we grabbed a couple somas, right? And we popped them. I remember just getting fucked up that night. We weren't coherent at all, right?
Wait, okay, so I don't remember TJ, because we obviously, him being my family, like, I'm sure there's going to be stuff you're going to say today that I haven't heard. Yeah. But we've talked about a lot that I have heard, so I know, like, these details.
When I say cousin, he's really not my cousin. He's my stepmom's grandson, which would make him my step nephew.
So size-wise, though, like, are you guys comparable?
Is this a fat joke?
No.
I mean, age.
Normally, yes. Legit question.
Are we talking about age-wise or size-wise?
No, literal size. Like, you have always been a bigger dude. Right?
No,
I'm not talking about just like your height.
He was always small and skinny.
Okay.
You know?
Because 6 Norcos, I'm like,
yeah, but we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
Right? And I just remember just being just out of it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So he's a year younger than me, or like 6 months younger than me. His birthday's in December, mine's in March. And we started doing that, and then I remember we were packing for, I think Bass Lake or something. We were packing the motorhome. My dad goes, hey, can you go check to see if I have my pain pills in the camper? Run in there, and there's 3 bottles. Nope. None in there, Dad. Okay, go put this in there for me. Right? So we'd take those up there, and we were getting fucked up the whole time that we're up in Bass Lake. And then I brought what I had left over, and I sold them at school.
Do you feel like your dad had any idea this was going on?
No.
Like, I feel like you...
There was so much... I think he probably had an idea about something. And later in life, I think he knew that... when I say later in life, I mean like 15, 16 years old. I'm pretty sure he knew we were smoking weed and that we were doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
But not taking his stuff.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, I feel like when you were that age specifically, or maybe even me, because there's, I mean, how many years between us? How old are you?
35.
Yeah, there's 4 years between us. Like, at that point, I would think that there wasn't like an epidemic yet. You know what I mean?
No, there wasn't.
Like, there was no opiate epidemic. Mm-hmm. So it's like, your parents knew we're like smoking weed behind the house when they're like at work and, you know, filling up their white wood bottles.
Having a watch out person.
You feel me? Yeah. Like there wasn't an epidemic to be like stressed about. So
yeah. So I mean, it started like that, and that's how I got introduced to opiates was through my dad's prescriptions, and that's how a lot of kids in suburbs get introduced to opiates, right? It's not like we don't even know what I didn't know what the fuck an opiate was back then. It was a Norco. I took it. It felt great, and the next day I wasn't hungover. I didn't have any withdrawal symptoms. I didn't know anything about withdrawals, right? Until it started becoming a daily thing, which that didn't start happening until about 15, 16 years old, where it started becoming like, fuck, like now I feel sick. Like if I know if I do one or if I do an Oxy, I'm going to feel better, right? So when Oxy came around, I was probably like 17. I remember sitting in algebra, and I'm not going to use no names. A buddy of mine.
Yeah, let's keep this nameless.
A buddy of mine gives me this half a pill, and he goes, "Here, take this." And I'm looking at this pill, and it's tiny. Like this half a pill is tiny. I'm like, "What the fuck's that going to do?" And he goes, "Just take it, dude. It's Oxy. You'll get fucked up." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." He goes, "But crush it and snort it." So I went to the bathroom. I crushed it. I snorted it. And I remember going to math class and getting all my fucking homework done. Just was focused and got it all done. I got all my work done. And we're sitting there, we're playing fucking paper football.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember the teacher walking up to us and going, "Are you guys done?" "Yeah, I got this done. Got my homework done already." And for me, opiates gave me energy. Right?
Yeah.
If I was doing something and I was focused on something, I had energy. If I wanted to nod out, which I found out later, if I wanted to nod out and not do anything, and I was just sitting there, then I would nod out.
Yeah.
But as long as I had something to do, I would have energy. So that's like 17 years old, and I was doing Oxy probably once I graduated high school, and I was selling cars. Mm-hmm. I was doing Oxy almost every day, and I was making a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Won a trip to Hawaii selling cars through Giveke, and I had all this money, and I had 2 roommates. I had a nice house. I had my quad. I had my nice trucks, right? And looking back at it now, I could start seeing the deterioration of what was happening, because I started losing little things here and there.
Yeah.
Right. First, it was my '86 Chevy. Mm-hmm. Right. I sold it. I had nothing to show for it.
Well, it's like that pattern. Nothing, like if you were sober, the things that you valued weren't more valuable when you were fucked up off pills.
And I loved that truck. I put a new 350 motor in it. I bagged that truck. Like I did everything I could to that truck that make it look just badass. And I let it rot out at my dad's house, and then I sold it to a guy that worked at the bike shop for what I bought it for when I put hella more money in what I bought it for, you know? And then my 97 GMC gets repoed in front of my house, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm riding my bike to the bike shop every day. And then I quit my job, just randomly quit my job. Had no reason to quit my job, just quit. Just didn't want to go no more, just didn't show up. And I remember it was like a month later, we had to put our 30 days in, and we had to get out of the house, and I didn't know where to go. And I remember having all my stuff packed in the garage, and I had nowhere to go. Mm-hmm. And luckily, my dad pulls up in his cargo van that he had at the time, and he says, "Load it up, you're coming with me."
Yeah.
Like, I was hours away from being homeless.
At this point, did your mom and dad kind of know there was like something going on? Like, had anybody had any like conversation with you, like, what's going on with you?
Yeah. So during this, I've skipped some stuff. So during this, my mom tried to take me to where I work now, CDCC, right? Mm-hmm. To central intake, to get assessed, to go into inpatient, go to recovery house. And because what happened was, my mom takes me to central intake, and I remember, so everything's confidential when you go into a rehab, right? Or when you get an assessment done. And it's up to the client if the client wants anybody else to go in that room with them, right? So I'm standing behind my mom, and they call my name, and I'm going up to the door, and I remember the lady who I work with now, her name's Swan. She's a little Vietnamese lady. I call her Miss Swan.
Yeah.
Right? And she goes, okay, you can come back. Do you want your mom to come back? And I was like, yeah, sure. Because I'm standing behind my mom, like shaking my head no. Like,
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, well, you need to stay out here, ma'am. Da, da, da. So I go back there. And I just feed her all this bullshit. She's asking me these questions. How much do you use? How often do you use? I'm like, oh, I do like a half a pill like once a week.
Yeah.
You know, and do you have any withdrawals? No. Of course, I'm going through withdrawals at that time.
Yeah.
And then she brings me out, and she's like, he doesn't qualify. He doesn't meet the criteria for treatment. My mom's pissed.
Well, so wait, let me stop you though, because in saying that, I kind of want to touch on that. Like, is that one of the realities of recovery? Like we're talking about, like, I imagine their assessment that they do, like anybody could probably, like any hardcore addict obviously knows how to lie. I've had addicts lie to my face, rip you off. Like,
so the assessment, we use a thing called the ASAM tool.
Yeah.
And it's very subjective.
Yeah.
Right? So I can basically rate it however I want to rate it towards you. Right? If you tell me, but it's also, so when you're asking the questions, you don't just go off the questions that are on the ASAM. So like when you get to, you know, when you're in the first dimension, which is dimension 1, right? You got withdrawal dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going through any serious life-threatening withdrawals and or anything similar like that, right? Yes or no? Have you ever gone through any withdrawals in the past? No. So have you ever been sick from not using? Have you ever, you know, not been able to sleep because you couldn't use? Have you had headaches because you couldn't use? Like, you got to go outside that box a little bit, and then they'll be like, oh, yeah, actually, because if you're just dealing with somebody that had weed, they don't, you know, smoking weed, they don't really know, like, a headache is a withdrawal from not smoking weed, right? So if you throw that in there, that's going to add to it, right? The medical condition is 2, and dimension 2, and it's, okay, are you diagnosed with TB, emphysema, hepatitis C, heart condition, anything like that? You suffer from seizures, convulsions, right? No. Okay, when was the last time you seen a doctor? Oh, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, 5 years ago, I guess? Fuck. Okay, so you're telling me you've been smoking methamphetamine and shooting up heroin for the last 10 years and you haven't seen a doctor in 5 years and you don't think you might not have a medical problem? What happens when you stop that? Now your body's going to start getting back to normal. What's going to happen? Or you think a physical would be necessary or benefit you in any way? Well, yeah. Okay, write that in there. Boom, boom. That takes that risk scale up higher. Now, if they just say, no, I have no problems, no risk. Boom. No, I have no problem, no mental issues, no risk. Yeah, I'm ready to change, no risk, right? Oh, I live at home with my mom. But if you don't ask, does your mom use with you? Does your mom drink? Does your dad drink? Does your brother use or drink? You know, do the people in your house, do they affect your sobriety in any way? If you just go by the actual questions, it's easy. But once you start, you have to probe, right? And you have to get them to talk to you, because if you just go off those standard questions, half the time, if you read it word for word verbatim, they don't even understand what the fuck you're asking them.
They don't. And on top of that, like, what's like the time frame on an assessment? Is that as a counselor, is that like up to your discretion?
So like, what do you mean time frame?
As far as like for me, when I assess a student, I normally block out 2 hours.
Okay, so
and it may take 30 minutes.
Yeah, so an assessment. So when I go to court, I got to do these assessments, and I got to have an answer for the judge right then and there. So I buzz through it quick, 5-10 minutes, get it down. But as I'm asking them questions, I'm taking mental notes. I'm putting little side notes on the paper assessment, right? And then just to get their level of care that they meet criteria for. So, a lot of times people that are in jail, right, they don't have the daily functions to participate in everyday activities. They might say they do. Oh yeah, I can go get a job. Okay, can you do that without using drugs? Right? Can you do that without drinking? Oh no, you end up here. That's why you're in custody right now, right? So no, you don't have the daily skills. You don't have those life skills that you can participate in day-to-day functions, right?
Yeah.
So there's different things. So, but when I'm face to face with a person and I'm over the phone with somebody, it will take longer because I'm actually typing the stuff out that I'm doing instead of doing side notes. But a whole assessment intake will take about 2.5 hours.
Is that what your intake is though? That's where like, and we'll get back to like the story, but like this is the real stuff I'm super curious about. Like, as far as your intake, are you primarily dealing with people who are like involuntarily coming to you, or is it people that are like, I need help.
It's both.
Can
It's
we actually
both.
even go back a little bit further, and can you talk a little bit about what? So we kind of started your story, and then we jumped into this.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah, I'm
what
sorry.
do you do? No.
No.
it's
We
totally
want
fine.
this to free flow.
Yeah.
So don't
feel like it's structured or anything. But what is your job? What do you do now?
So I'm a drug counselor for San Joaquin County.
Okay.
So what I do is I had a caseload of like 25 people. Then they sent me to court. So now I go to court 3 days a week and I assess people in custody to see if they qualify for treatment or not. So I do that 3 days a week. So they took my caseload down to 12 people. So I can do basically, I'm doing 3 to 5 assessments in a hour and a half period. Then I got to come back to the office and log it all in the computer and do all the notes and everything and the ROIs. So like I have one group a week on Thursdays, and then I have, because of COVID, right? It's a Zoom group.
Fucking COVID.
Yeah, fucking COVID. I can't wait to have normal groups back and have the people actually come.
Yeah.
But the other, so usually we have 2 groups a week if you're just doing regular outpatient services. So I do one individual session with the client once a week, and then one group once a week with everybody that I can get in that group.
Yeah. Do you I don't know if you know the fucking percentage, but like, is there a high percent of counselors that are in your position that are former addicts?
Yeah.
Is it primarily like, is there anybody who's like, what did you call it, like a normie? Like,
Normie. Yeah, normies. Yeah,
we're normies.
We got a few normies that are counselors, and so Miss Swan, right? She's a normie.
So a normie is like a non-addict.
Somebody who can drink or smoke weed and it doesn't affect their everyday life.
Okay.
Right? If you can come home and you can have a beer and you're not getting wasted and shit faced every day to where you can't go to work the next day, or you lose your job, or you're smoking weed all day every day and it's affecting something important in your life, whether it's relationships or jobs, anything like that. That's when I think that addict definition comes into play.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's affecting something that's important to you. Right?
Yeah.
So with my addiction, it affected every aspect of my life that was important to me. I didn't care about anybody in my life but me. That's apparent, right?
Yeah. And this motherfucker was like 100 pounds, I swear. He was tiny.
Do you have anybody else in your family that suffers or deals with
So
addiction?
my grandpa was an alcoholic, and he had like 20 something years sober, and one year for Christmas he shows up, and grandpa, right?
Yeah.
Roger. He shows up. He passed away now, but he shows up and he goes, "I got something to tell you guys." I'm like, "What, Gramps?" "Started drinking again." Like, this motherfucker, I didn't want to live past 70. I don't give a shit.
No.
And he didn't. Like, he got 2 DUIs on a 3-wheel bicycle. Right? 2 DUIs on a 3-wheel bicycle. Lost one because they locked it up or they didn't lock it up. They left it in front of Rayleigh's, right? And he got hauled off to jail, and then it was stolen. Wasn't there when he came back. The second one got impounded. How do you get a 3-wheel bike?
The cop's like, okay, I'm going to leave my car here and ride this bike back to the station.
Come pick me up later.
So the second DUI that he got on the bike, the neighbors called because they thought he was having a stroke because he was just hunched over, pedaling the bike, and had his bottle of wine in his hand.
Oh,
Like-
shit.
So this is
Probably a
when
good
he
bottle of wine, too.
relapsed.
This is, if you want
Or
to call it a
decided
relapse,
to
or I think
drink again.
I think it's a decision.
It was like I'm going out in a blaze of fucking glory.
Yeah, so-
Like,
and then he
I don't know
got-
about a relapse.
Yeah, he got sent
Did
to
he
the.
have flames on his tricycle?
Yeah.
It was a Red Summit 3-wheel bicycle.
Get it.
Yep. So, and then he got sent to the hospital, and I remember him. He was on a breathing machine, and they said he has like a 1% chance of living without this tube in his throat. So I got off. I was working at Rick's Pizza that time, and I get off and I go and I visit him one night, and they're like, "It's past visiting hours." I said, "I just want to say hi to him."
Yeah.
I'm like, "All right, come on up." So I go and I say hi to him, and I said, "All right, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow." Well, that motherfucker that night, with a 1% chance of living without that breathing tube, he fucking pulls that thing out of his throat, and they got that balloon on the end of it, right? So he fucked his throat all up, pulls it out, and we show up the next day, and we're like, "You guys had a 1% chance. Like, why'd you guys take it out?" "Oh no, he did that himself." Like, this guy, He's like, I'm 72.
I mean, he was a determined man. We're not going to name names, but like, yeah, he
Bill.
he had a successful company. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, there's and I don't know if you feel comfortable about it, but like, also on your mom's side, you know, like your uncle.
Yeah.
He's dealt with, and this is the thing. Like, I feel like that's a question that we could all probably answer. Like, we all have addiction hardcore in our family, and it's kind of crazy. And that was something else I wanted to ask: is do you primarily deal with like drugs and alcohol abuse, or do you get other like people who like sex addictions, or like everyone has their shit.
They go hand in hand. A lot of them, right? So. Not saying that every sex addict is a drug addict, but there's something that's stimulating the, like obviously like gambling has a lot to do with drinking and using,
Yes.
right? Which is a huge addiction. Not too many sex addicts or not too many people that really talk about that, I'm sure they're there, but I think any addiction goes hand in hand with actually drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Do you also see a huge correlation between mental health, mental illness, and addiction?
It is, yeah, absolutely. So,
and is that something that you struggle with at all?
Mental health?
Yeah.
So I'm not diagnosed with anything mental health wise. Now, I think everybody has some type of mental health issues.
100%.
It's just how we deal with it that makes it different.
Well, and I think that's the thing is there is a lot, like for me, I was totally ignorant to the fact that, and it wasn't with him, I even learned this, but there are mental illnesses that can be induced by heavy drug use, long-term drug use.
So methamphetamine right now isn't really methamphetamine. There's so many chemicals in it that if you see the people on the streets now, like the homeless people that are on the streets, like there's crank and then there's methamphetamine. Crank is like back in the day, Hell's Angels stuff, right? They called it crank because they put it in the crank case of their Harleys, and that's how they transported it, right? And it was pure. They had like they were still using chemicals, but they had the science down, right? Now they're taking wasp spray, right? And they're spraying it onto a metal screen, and they'll take a 12-volt battery, and they'll hook the battery up to the screen and zap it, and it crystallizes instantly, and then they cut their dope with that.
It's like I could barely fucking tie my shoes, and people were taking bug spray and zapping the shit and crystallizing it. Like
when you see these people, so there's drug-induced psychosis, right?
Yeah.
And there might be, you might have that gene or you might have that chemical imbalance before that, but it's not that strong. But the minute that you start playing with this other shit, it's gonna it's gonna trigger that, and then all of a sudden you're schizophrenic, right? Now all of a sudden you're bipolar and you have all these issues that you can't fix now because before it was manageable and now it's not.
Well, and shit, if we're talking about the realities of recovery, fucking red flag. That is a reality, right?
Yeah.
Like you could be totally sober, but have used drugs, hard drugs for so long or use something so long. It's even like with weed. Like I'm super pro cannabis, but like I have people in my life who can't eat until they smoke. It's like, it's almost like weed has shaped them. It's just how they function now. So there's obviously like negative side effects of anything that you do in excess.
So everyone always asks like, and even I ask this when I'm counseling my clients, like, what are your triggers? Like, what makes you want to use? And for me, it didn't matter what the excuse was. Getting up, I'm using.
Yeah, you can find something.
Before making that phone call, I'm using. Before I'm going to the store, I'm using. Oh, we're going to go bowling? Pre-game.
So what was what is your, I know you really started heavily on pills. What was your drug of choice, or did it matter, or did you have multiple?
I was a dumpster. I did everything, but mainly my drugs of choice was heroin and meth.
Would you shoot it? Smoke it? Shoot it?
So it started off smoking, then So
how many times have you been to rehab?
Total.
Twice.
And the first time were you forced the second time as well?
Yes. Yeah.
But what was the difference, I guess?
So after all that boost and shit, I ended up being homeless out in Murata. Like first it was Lodi, and then I ended up out in Murata and Stockton area, and was out there for, I don't know, a year and a half or 2 years, and I met this girl and I got her pregnant, and she ends up going into labor, right? And I remember waking up and woke up one morning and it wasn't even morning, it was probably like 4 p.m. I don't even know what fucking time it was. I wasn't there, right?
It was your morning.
Yeah, so she's like all in pain and shit. I'm like, what are you crying about? Like, shut up. Like, smoke a bowl or something. Shut up.
Was she also an addict and
Yeah.
homeless?
So that whole time we were using, and it was always like, we'll stop 2 weeks before the baby's born. We didn't go to no doctor's visits. We don't know when the fucking baby's gonna be born, right? That's our addict mentality. Like, we'll stop 2 weeks before, but how do we know? Because we don't even know how far along you are.
Yeah.
Right. So she ends up going to labor. We call an ambulance. Ambulance comes, gets her, and then I get a ride from one of her mom's friends, and her mom was also an active user. Her mom shot dope, and their main things was crystal meth, right? And then my baby's mom, she messed around with opiates a little bit, and towards the end, she messed around with opiates. So we go to the hospital, and they're like, "You want to see your daughter, or do you want to see your girlfriend give birth?" I'm like, "No, I don't. That's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't have a good stomach. I don't want to watch that."
Yeah.
It's a C-section, right? And I remember looking at the doctor and saying, "I've seen the movie Alien, right? Where the alien crawls out the stomach. I don't need to see that in real life. That's not a thing, right?" And they're looking at me like, "All right, dude, whatever." I said, "I'll let her mom go in with her." So they go in, and I go out in the parking lot, and I smoke a bowl, right? And I come back in like a half hour later, and it's all done. And her mom comes out, and she's like, "You have a baby girl, and she's healthy. Once she's cleaned up, you can go in there." So I walked in there, and the doctor's holding my daughter, right? And she's going to hand me my daughter, and she goes, "Just so you know, she came out tox pos, which is positive for drugs, and she was positive for opiates and for meth, right? And just so you know, CPS is probably going to be involved." So I remember her handing me my daughter, and I stuck my hand out, like stiff-armed her. I was like, "No, I don't want to hold her."
Yeah.
She's like, "What do you mean?" I go, "I don't want to hold her. I don't want to build that connection with her. Like, CPS is coming to get her. Why do I want to fucking hold my daughter that I'm never going to have?" And because everything I ever saw on CPS is that they would come and they would take your kid, right? I never heard of like CPS is there to help you, help the parents, or it's like CPS is involved, your kid goes into foster care, and you're fucked.
Yeah.
And this time I had to talk to my mom for like probably 4 years.
Damn, it was that long?
Like, I mean, here and there on Facebook, but I remember the last message I sent my mom on Facebook, she was like, "We just want Bubba back, and we want you to come back." And I told my mom, like, "I'm tired of fucking changing for you guys. Bubba's gone. My name is Brett.
Yeah.
And maybe you guys need to adjust to how I live rather than me adjusting to what you want me to be."
Yeah.
And it's pretty fucked up to send to your mom, right?
Yeah.
So other than like little messages like that, we didn't talk. So finally the doctor like explains to me after like 45 minutes, explains to me that CPS is here to help you, and they have resources for the parents to help you get your kids back. Do you have anybody that could take your daughter? No, I don't know anybody. Like, her mom can't take her because her mom shoots up with us.
Yeah.
Like, her mom is homeless with us. So that's out.
So sad in itself.
Yeah, that's out. And then, well, what about your family? I'm like, I haven't talked to my family in hell long. I don't know. So the next day, I remember this is the only good thing that my baby's mom ever said to me the whole time we were together, because the whole relationship sucked. The only thing that we had in common was we did drugs together.
Yeah.
She said, "You need to call your mom." Like, I'm not calling my mom. I haven't talked to her in hell long. Now I'm going to call her when I need something. Like, that's not how this works. So she convinced me the next day to call my mom. I call her, and she answers. I go, "Hey, Mom," and she goes, "Oh, hey, Michael, what number is this?" I'm like, "No, Mom, it's not Michael. It's Bubba. It's Brett." She goes, "Oh, what number is this?" And I go, "It's the county hospital." And the first thing out of her mouth was, "What'd you do, OD?" Like, "No, Mom, it's nothing like that." So the last like 6 months to a year of me using, I OD'd like 6 times. I don't know if she found out about those or she knew about them. She tells me today, like, she'd always have these weird feelings, like, every now and then.
Yeah, she's your mom.
Yeah, like, she had, like, this instinct that something was going wrong with Bubba. She'd wake up in the middle of the night, something's going wrong with Bubba. And I like to think that that's maybe like her having that instinct of when I did OD, because it was usually nighttime when I did OD. But so I call her and she's, hey Michael, I'm like, no, it's Bubba, it's Brett, and we go through that whole thing, and all I say to her is, if you want to see your granddaughter, come down to county hospital. And then I hear Glenn, my stepdad, in the background going, what's going on with Bubba? Mm. And then she's like, we have a granddaughter, I'm going to go see her. So Glenn was battling cancer at the time. Mm-hmm. So my mom came down. When my mom came down, I went to go hand my daughter to my mom, and as I'm handing her to my mom, I'm crying. I haven't seen her in hell long, so I'm crying because I'm seeing my mom for the first time, and I'm all sucked up. And she's like, what are you crying for? I go, Mom, you need to take her. She goes, what do you mean? I said, CPS is involved. She's positive for meth and opiates. You need to take her. And I remember her not even flinching. And she goes, absolutely. Right? Instantly. Absolutely. Like,
my Auntie Nell is an angel on earth.
She's, yes, a saint, for sure. So she
deals with this fucker. She's 100% angel.
Yes. So she goes, let me ask you, why didn't you tell me this on the phone? And I remember this like it was yesterday. Like, just how she said it and how I said it, but how she responded to it, I remember like it was yesterday. So I told her, I was like, because I could see you saying it's your fuck up, you deal with it. Right? You haven't called me for 5 years, 4 years. Like, what? Handle it.
She would never say that.
But that's, I'm high at the time. Like, I was high the whole time I was in the hospital. Right?
That's like what like the interfering thoughts are telling you.
Yeah.
But like you and I both know, like,
that's
your
never
mom
what she would say.
Never say that.
She goes, this is her exact words, and she doesn't even remember saying this, but maybe I dreamt it. I don't know, but this is what I remember is her saying, what you did to me in the past is what you did, but my granddaughter hasn't done a thing.
I feel like she still stands by that.
Yeah. Yeah. So like it hit me, and like I tell her that, and she's like, I don't remember saying that, but you know, I probably did.
That's good.
That's good.
She's like, wow, I'm fucking wise.
Let me write this shit down.
Hold on. Say word for word.
Yes. Hallmark card.
Yeah.
She's like, I'll forgive you when you tattoo this on your lower back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, no, to be honest too, I feel like this is like, not to like cut your story up, but I feel like this is a good segue into like kind of basically continuing the conversation. I was explaining to Melissa earlier that our moms are our grandmas are cousins, and they were like best friends. Our moms have grown up. My Auntie Nell's been the best aunt I've ever had. Like, she's amazing, so non-judgmental, like heart on her sleeve, will give you anything. That's just how she is. Yeah. And her and my mom have always been close. I've always seen a positive relationship.
I wake up in the morning and I get my shower done, right? And I come out to the living room, and it's 7:15 in the morning, 7:10 in the morning, and my mom's talking to Aunt Denise on it.
Yeah, like, literally.
What?
Yeah.
Already? She's
yeah.
Like, yeah, we're talking about this.
So, like, we grew up together. Like, my great-grandparents would always get a little, like, place in Tahoe. Mm-hmm. We grew up with Michael and Brett. Like, so when we went on vacation, like, a couple summers ago, Brett and I kind of started talking, like, being a sibling of an addict, which is something, like, we've talked about before. Just talking about kind of, like, support systems, right? Like, obviously, how we've talked about your mom, the stuff my family's kind of dealt with, and, like, how my mom's been such a good support system. Besides your mom, I mean, do you feel like once, like, you know, your daughter was established, you worked, you know, your ass off to get her back and to get to where you are, like, what support system do you have besides your mom that, like, helped push you to get there?
So that's one of the reasons I got in the field like I'm in now, mm-hmm. is because CPS is centered around the kid and the mom, right? There's not a lot of dads that go and get their kids back, like single dads that go and get their kids back.
So once you graduated the program, how long ago was that?
So it was a 6-month program. I checked in December 26, 2016. So the day after Christmas, I remember my court case manager, Donna Roof, she was like, you're going into 24th. Nope. You're going into 24th. Nope. I'm not going in at all. She's like, what do you mean you're not going in? I'm not going in. You're going to put me in outpatient. Like, it's my addict mind working. I'm not going to fucking inpatient. This is not what I'm here for. She's the one that tested dirty. You guys haven't tested me. She goes, well, go pee in this cup. No.
I don't really have to go.
Well, I didn't drink enough water today. I'm super hydrated.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I said, and she goes, so she closed the door. And this is at the old courthouse. So the old courthouse, the case manager's office were down in the basement. And she closed the door. She goes, what do you got going on? What's so important? Like, you're homeless, you don't have a job, you don't have any family support. What do you have going on that you can't go to inpatient? And I remember thinking of an idea of what I could say that's going to get me out of this completely, right? And it was, I have 5 dogs. I had 5 dogs that were homeless with me that I needed to take care of. And I remember she looked at me, she like rolled her eyes and she leans in and she goes, "You have a fucking daughter." And I was like, "Fuck."
Oh yeah. And I
Oh
have a
shit,
daughter.
that trumps everything now.
I
Yes,
also
I got-
have
I
a
got
daughter.
What do you say to that? Like, I thought this idea was going to be great.
I mean, I've never been in your position, and I feel like I would forget if I had kids if they were like at my house. Like, oh shit, I do have kids.
Oh, that was a fresh one though. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so
I only had her for a few hours.
Yeah.
So I go to New Directions. It's a 6-month program. So I got out June 26th of 2017. And then I did 6 months outpatient. And during this, I did 14 months of drug court and then 18 months of CPS court. And then I ended up getting full custody of my daughter.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then I remember when I got out of rehab after the 6 months, my dad was like, "You got to get a job. You got to get a job." And like the day that I got out, he's driving me around to places to get applications. I'm like, "Fuck, I just want to go home." He's like, "Nope, we're going to get at least 5. We're going to get at least 5 applications today." So I ended up getting hired like that same week. I get hired at a lumber mill out in Thornton and go straight to work. And then I got offered a job at a machine shop. So I went and I worked there, quit that job, went and worked there. And I remember thinking to myself, like, these jobs fucking suck. Like,
Sounds horrible.
they have no room. Like, you can grow in these jobs, but like now I'm working in a machine shop that's a family business. Like, I'm not going to get any higher than the sun. I'm not going to get any higher than these. And when I say higher, I don't mean high like.
Hey, watch your words.
Yeah.
This is a
I'm
reality.
I'm not going to get
recovery.
promoted. I'm not going to get promoted to anything that is going to be worthwhile, right? And it clicked, like that whole thing that we talked about where there's no services for the dads. So my goal at first was to somehow work for CPS because nobody in CPS that I knew of had ever been through CPS that knows what it's like and how it is for the dad to go through what they go through. And I wanted to help the single dads. So I called my mom up and I was like, "Hey, this is the deal. This is what I want to do." I remember I was getting gas. This idea popped up to me. I was like, "I'm quitting my job." She's like, "What do you mean?" "I'm quitting my job. I'm going to school." She goes, "Okay. Just stay in school. But sign up for school before you quit your job." Perfect.
That's
I can do
Grandma
that.
Swingle advice.
Yeah. I can do this. So I go to school and it was like a year and a half of school and I got my certificate and I was interning for the county and the county ended up hiring me. I interned for the county for like 8 months. And then once I got my certificate, I was able to apply for the job. And they go, "Okay, you just got to go through the formalities. Like, most likely, as long as you don't bomb the interview, you got this. Like, and you know everything because you've been doing it for 8 months. You know our system. You know how everything works. So just do it." So I did that, and I got the job, and it's been crazy since then because I've been there a year and a half, and I have people that have been there for 26 years coming up to me asking me, "Hey, how do you do this?
Yeah.
What do I do in this situation?" You know what I mean? And it's weird. It's.
I find that though in every field, like I had a training today, you know, and I've only been teaching at a public school I'm ending my 2nd academic year. And I've had people that have been on my campus for 10 years asking me, and I don't think it specifically necessarily has to do with my skill set being like higher than theirs as much more as it's like my mindset is growth. Right? So like I am always the person that's like gonna ask my admin. I know this is gonna be hard to believe, but I ask my admin the hard questions. I'm direct. Like I'm just like, let's get to this. Let's solve this. You know. So I think that's kind of across all fields. Like that's a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, they want to
And
go to the
there's
person that's willing to ask those questions.
And there's always change too. So like,
Yes.
it wasn't that long ago that everything was getting written down on paper, right? So all their notes for every client was paper written.
Ugh.
All the check-ins paper written. Everything's paper written. So now it's
They don't know we have fires in California?
So now it's over. You know, we call it Clinicians Gateway, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's linked up to mental health services, substance abuse services. Like it's all. So there's the SAS Clinicians Gateway, which is substance abuse, right? That's their gateway, and then we have the mental health gateway. But if they're involved in mental health or if they're involved at a methadone clinic, we can see that they're active in one of those fields.
That's so dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, so so for the county at CDCC, so CDCC stands for Chemical Dependency Counseling Center, right? We're under BHS, which is behavioral health, which is mental health.
Yeah.
Right? 1212.
Yeah.
And everything we do goes through them.
Yeah.
My boss's boss is the head person at mental health. So we go through everything we do goes through them. Like to get a diagnosis on somebody, because we have to have a diagnosis on somebody to treat them. So if they're a methamphetamine user, right? Amphetamine use disorder, severe, moderate, or mild. Right?
I have to
And
say
has
that
to be
like
done
gives
by-
me some relief to hear that, because you really see, you know, like I always tell them, like in Lodi, obviously you guys see it, but it's more like the freeway, tops of the freeways. I live in Midtown, where sometimes I'll walk out my front door and there's, you know, someone homeless sleeping like in front of my apartment building.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and you hear just the way people complain about the homeless. Like it, you know, people in small cities like this act like they're sleeping on their fucking grass. It's so annoying to hear. But, you know, I guess I must always assume that a lot of it is they don't have access to mental health services. And I'm sure maybe, I don't know, Sack's a different county, if maybe that's that, or if it's they're not willing, or both, right? But like to hear that you work with chemical dependency and that mental or behavioral health is a part of that like makes me super happy.
Yeah.
Because that's a
And
big thing.
There's a lot that fall through the cracks because they either go and then they vanish. You know what I mean? And then if you're homeless, where do you look for them?
Yeah.
If they're not in the same camp that they were at yesterday, and that's where you're going to check on them for the last year, and now they're not there anymore, and somebody says, "Oh no, they picked up their shit and left."
Yeah.
Like, now where do I go?
Well, listen,
you know where he went.
The realities to recover, we're talking about it, like, bottom line, I think this is age old and gonna die true. You cannot help somebody that does not want to help themselves.
Exactly.
Your family couldn't change you.
No.
Right? Going to jail and, you know, joining the Woody Woodpeckers didn't change you. So, like, you obviously, it took your daughter to motivate you.
And even with my daughter, I wasn't motivated. I
Yeah.
was in my head. It was, I'm going to do what CPS tells me to do. And when I get out, I'm going to go back to doing what I was doing once I get my daughter. That's going to be the thing. That was my mindset going in. It wasn't.
What was the light switch then? What changed that?
So for like 3 months in rehab, so they give us this packet, 36 pages, right, of guidelines. Guidelines, rules, but as an addict, we don't like rules, so they call them guidelines.
Yeah.
These are strong suggestions, right?
These are very strong
Yes.
suggestions.
Don't
Follow
break
the
these.
rules.
Don't break these suggestions. Otherwise, you're going to get hours, and hours mean you're picking up cigarette butts, you're wiping off door handles, you're cleaning the kitchen, you're cleaning the bathrooms, right? On top of your normal everyday chore.
When you have like you have to wake up at a certain time, right? Go to bed at
Yeah.
a certain time, like.
Yeah, so it's 6 a.m. You wake up and in bed by 10.
I don't even wake up that fucking early, and I have to be at work at 7:30.
Breakfast at 6:30. First group at 7:30.
What if you fast? What if you don't eat breakfast? You have to eat breakfast?
No, you just can't be caught laying in your bed after they wake you up. Yeah. So, what was I saying before that?
Sorry, I got super sidetracked
Yeah,
by the 6
I
a.m.
don't- 6
Everybody knows
a.m.
how I feel. We were talking about what
Nothing
was like the
starts
light bulb.
early.
You know,
Oh, the light bulb,
nothing.
yeah. So I'm looking for every loophole
Yeah.
in this 36 pages of guidelines, right?
Yeah.
And I found a lot. And I would break a rule that wasn't written. And they would say, you got hours, you got to do this, da-da-da. Do you want to get your kid back? You're breaking rules. And I said, show me in the guidelines where it says I can't do that.
He's all intentionally looking for
Yeah,
stuff.
seriously.
This is
That's-
so Brett,
You're
dude.
sup- you're
This is
suppo-
so Brett.
You're supposed to look at the guidelines to learn the rules so you don't break the rules. But I looked at the guidelines to look at how I can manipulate
Loopholes.
these rules and say, what can I do to get around this?
Let me
Right?
move these words around.
Yeah. So, and I did that for like 3 months. And I remember she left after like 2.5 months. I remember her mom called me on the payphone there and was like, just so you know, we're out front. We're picking up your baby's mom, and we got a bowl packed. Let's go.
Jesus.
I remember going, the fuck? Like, you want us both to go? You want to sabotage both of us? Like, you already got in her head to where she's leaving. Now you want to sabotage me too and take
This
me back
was her
out?
mom?
Yeah. She's like,
Speaking of support systems,
Yeah.
my God.
she's like, let's go. Come on.
I
Let's
mean,
go.
she has no. I mean, you got to feel for her as well, right, baby mama, because she has no other
Yeah, that's
options really. This is like something that
So-
that was her path.
So my mom calls my baby's mom
Mother of the year.
Your brother's baby's mom and your other brother's baby's mom, mother of the years.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Is this
They're
Jerry
the
Springer
mothers.
right now?
They're the mothers of the year, right?
I can't keep up.
Yeah. So
we can
Your baby mama, your brother's baby mama.
your brother's baby mama. Yeah.
So it's, you know, she had no support, and that's what I tried to explain to my mom. Is like, this is how she grew up. Like from the age of 14, she's shooting dope with her mom.
Yeah.
She knows no different.
Yep.
You know, her mom didn't take care of her, so what makes you think she's going to take care of her kids?
This is also something for me personally that I feel like is wrong with the CPS system, because I don't think, and I'm a woman saying this, that just because a woman has a baby, that makes her a mother.
No,
Because there's a lot of women who can work the system, get through the, year and a half process, get their kids back. That doesn't mean they like have the common sense to understand that when it's cold outside, you dress your kid in warm clothes, or that a certain, your kid needs to eat 3 nutritious meals a day and go to the dentist and be taken to get their shots and their vaccines. There are some people out there that don't understand, they don't have that
or
in
let's
them.
put a lid on the cup of milk.
Yeah, right. And I have to say, like, I'm glad you said that, Melissa, because it is, if you stand by what you say, where like it is a disease. Addiction is a disease. It took me a long time to understand that with my dad. Like, I was a teenager thinking my dad just left, and that was, he didn't care enough about my brother and I to stop drinking. That wasn't it. He has a disease. He had a disease, right?
So the way I look at it, right, you always have the disease, right? Once you get clean, right, and you get the knowledge, right? So like me, I've been clean for 4.5 years. I'm going to have 5 years in December, right? Mm-hmm. Now I'm not addicted to it anymore, right? Now the disease is still there. But from this point on, and from the point that I wasn't going through withdrawals on, it's a choice to go back. Because I know now, I consciously know if I go back and I use, it's going to be an everyday thing, and it's going to continue that cycle.
Consciously making a decision to use.
So,
I agree with that.
And I know I have that disease. So me knowing I have that disease and me knowing where it's going to take me, and I have the knowledge of what happens to me every single time, it's my choice now.
Imagine, like her, because I'm not defending her or any of the other ones, but imagine you go back to your mom's house and your mom's...
There's dope everywhere.
It's like, this is kind of like...
But here's the difference, okay? She chose to leave the program.
True.
She made that choice to leave the program. She had 2.5 months clean and sober. Instead of telling her mom, fuck you, I'm not getting in that truck, I'm here fighting for my daughter, she said, I'll jump in that truck, I'll smoke that bowl, he can get our daughter back, and we can get together when we're done, thinking that I'm going to get with the
it's kind of like what was at that
thing.
point for her, what was going to be different. It was multiple kids before her.
So I mean, right then and there, like a light switch kind of went on, like, fuck, I'm the only one fighting for my daughter now. Like, there's no one, like, obviously my mom would take full custody of my daughter if that was the case.
Yeah.
But that's not what I want.
So since your recovery, have you been tempted?
Oh, yeah.
And with how the current climate is and everything that comes up, and as you, being a single parent and all the things that come with that, are you tempted regularly, or what does that look like?
It gets spread out. I mean, I have times where like it can be, a few times a month to where I don't think about it for 6 months. I can have we call them drug dreams. I can have a dream where this is the dream that I always have, and it pisses me off, because in a drug dream, that's the only time I can get high now. And if I can't get high in a drug dream, and I wake up and I'm like, fuck, right? And now I'm angry, right? Because so in the drug dream that I always have is I'm putting the needle in my arm, and it registers, right? I pull the plunger back and it registers, and right before I go to push in. But I'm telling myself, don't do it. You're going to fuck up your recovery. You're going to fuck up your recovery. You're going to lose everything. That's what I'm telling myself. But I can't stop myself from not doing it. Mm-hmm. And I jolt myself awake every time. So I don't get high in the drug dream. But then I wake up like sweating and like all fucking paranoid. Like, did that just really happen? And I got to like look at myself like, where am I at right now?
Yeah, that's some trippy shit.
Yeah.
That's intense.
So I get dreams like that. I haven't had one in a while. But the temptation, so this is what I used to tell my baby's mom. You're my side bitch. Straight up, you're my side bitch. Heroin is number one. Till I get my heroin, I'm not paying any attention to you.
Yeah.
Right? So I can't explain heroin.
How romantic.
I know, you must have been so charming with the ladies.
I'm just saying. So
Thanks for being honest.
Yeah, no.
That's just how it was.
Yeah.
That was the truth. Because if I'm
I
sick,
feel like that's the story period for most
Yeah.
people,
Yeah,
right?
if
You're
I'm-
just honest enough to say it.
Yeah.
if I'm sick, I'm no good to any of us. I can't go out and I can't hustle. I can't go out and get us meth. I can't go out and do anything for us to make us any type of money. So first things first in the morning, if I don't have a wake up with heroin, we got to go find how we're going to get some heroin. And that's just how it was. I mean, to describe the feeling of heroin, it is the best thing, and it's like your best friend, right? But it's also like your worst enemy, because it can make you feel like you've never felt before in your life in both ways, by feeling great and feeling the worst, right? So when you have the drug, you feel awesome, you feel on top of the world, invincible, nobody can stop you, you're doing everything you need to do, and when you don't have it, you're just a fucking bag of bones, and you can't even move,
That's crazy.
right? So it's your best friend, but your worst enemy is how I describe it. Like it's there's no feeling like it. So that temptation's always there. And I drive by where I was homeless every day to work. I drive down 99 in the frontage road right there. After Marana, that's where I was homeless at. I drive by it every day, and there's times where I drive by and in my head it says, it wasn't that bad out there. I had no responsibilities. Not a care in the world. Like, I collected bottles and cans. I went and broke into trucks. You know, that's what I did, and that's how I survived. And it wasn't that bad. Like, I didn't have to answer to anybody. It was me on my time. I got up when I wanted to get up. I went to bed when I went to bed. When I did actually go to bed.
You didn't have other human to take care of.
Yeah. And then I have to constantly remind myself, like, it was that bad.
Yeah.
I was digging through dumpsters. I was looking for my next meal in dumpsters. I was waiting for Subway to bring out their bread at the end of the day to say, hey, can I have that? Rayleigh's right there in Murata. They would come out with their leftover donuts, and I'd wait by the door for those donuts. At the Panda Express that's right there in Murata, I'd go through the dumpster right there to see if there was any food left over in any of the boxes, right? So I constantly have to, my brain, and I don't know if it's like this for everybody's brain, but my addicted brain remembers the good times more than it remembers the bad times.
Well, no, to be honest with you, it sounds like you're describing too is it's like a bad relationship.
I was just gonna say that.
It's like when you're out of you could be in the most toxic, fucked up, like this full, the
all
worst.
you do is remember the good times.
All you remember is we're all guilty of it. You remember the good shit, you know, and you make a valid point where it's like, I have never, luckily struggled with addiction, but at the same time, like, fuck yeah, there's days I wake up like, I don't want to be a teacher today, and I'm living my dream life. Like, I'm happy. But yes, and I'm sure you've all felt that way. Like, you wake up and you're like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with that. You know what I mean?
Lucy, this is not your time to
Yeah,
shine.
Goose, this is not you. This is about Brett.
It's okay.
Lucy wanted to express that sometimes she does
Yeah.
also wake up and not want to be a dog.
Yeah.
I'm living the best life ever, and I don't want to do it anymore.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
So
Talk
what do you
about it,
feel
Goose.
like on those days? I mean, to be honest, I feel like that's kind of God, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's kind of like a sweet symphony that you do drive past this place that you were like at your lowest point in your life. It's like an everyday reminder. But what do you feel like some of the coping skills that you use, specifically use?
I use, so we call it playing the tape through, right? So you play that tape all the way through. What happens if I go use, right? It's going to lead to this. It's going to lead to homelessness, me losing my daughter. It's going to lead to me being on the streets. It's going to lead to me looking down at the ground every time I'm walking, looking for whatever's on the ground. And I remember time and time again, oh shit, there's a diamond on the ground. Nope, broken piece of glass, right? Like shit like that.
Yeah.
So I play the tape through. I remember the bad times. I remember where it takes me. I remember digging through dumpsters. I remember stinking, and I remember just you're not living at that time. You're existing, right? You're there. You're physically there, but you're not mentally there. There's nothing there that you are, and your camera stopped working.
I know it always does. Don't worry about it.
There's just that's my biggest thing is that, and then I think of my daughter, right? I think of my family, of what I've gotten back. Now it does suck that I don't talk to my brother.
Which
So-
I'll just say as your cousin, I hope that changes.
So that's one person. Everyone else
Is
in my
that
life,
your choice or his choice?
his choice.
His choice. I don't want to go too deep into that.
Yeah.
No, that's okay.
Yeah,
I was
so-
curious what.
So, and who knows? He could still come around one day. It's been 4.5 years.
We have so much life to live.
Yeah, it's been 4.5 years, and I did a lot of damage. And the way I look at it is, he could be mad at me all he wants, because in reality, we were best friends. We worked together. We lived together. He managed city bicycles in Lodi. I worked for him, right? We lived in the same house. We did everything together. We played softball together. We played basketball together. We did all this stuff together. And my choices took his little brother away.
Yep. And I think, and like I said, I don't want to go too deep into this because Amanda and I actually are doing an episode on siblings, like, of addicts or former addicts. But being, and you and I have talked about this before, like, I think it's easy to build a callus over your heart and just not deal with it. And I know how deeply, I can also empathize with you. I know how deeply it hurts you because I literally, like, my biggest fear pre anything with my family is losing my grandma Swingle and one of my siblings. Like, I dread the day something happens. And when you are a sibling of an addict, that's all you think about. It doesn't just take over your life, right? It takes over the people who are around you.
Yep.
And that's like why when, getting, like, I want to talk about coping, like actual physical coping skills, but it's hard, and I, as your cousin, like, I always pray, I don't know if your mom told you, but, like, I reached out to her when I saw your social media posts because she's the one who's really suffering.
That's what hurts me.
What I mean?
My mom can't have her family together at holidays.
Yeah.
My mom can't have all their grandkids in the same house. Can't have her sons in the same house. And that's when I start feeling it is I don't know what made me feel it that one day that I put that post up. Oh, I remember what it was.
It was your friend, wasn't it?
It was his good friend that he grew up with his whole life, right? Who got caught in addiction, right? And he was a big motivator for me. So he just celebrated 12 years clean, right? So his brother married my brother. Right, so he was the ordained minister that married my brother.
I was like, yeah, gay story.
No. I said that wrong. So his brother married my brother and my brother's wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the other one better, but whatever.
So
We'll have it your way.
yeah. So his friend just celebrated 12 years, and his friend's brother put this post on 9 years ago when he hit his 3 years mark, and he reposted it again. You know how the memories come up and you reposted it again, and it said something about showing tough love and how his brother ended up in jail again, and him telling his mom, like, no, leave him in there. He needs time to think. He needs some tough love right now. Thank God we did that, because now since then he's got 3 years clean. Well, now he's got 12 years clean, right? So I screenshotted that, and I sent it to my brother. And I sent it to his wife, and I said, this is where I want to be at. Is I want to have a relationship where you're saying shit like this. I know you don't want to get into it, but we're going to get into this just real quick, and then we can move on. But he sent back, I guess he blocked my number. Whatever. So his wife got it, though, and he calls my mom and says, tell Brett to stop texting my wife. I'm not talking to him, and da-da-da, and I'm not giving him another chance, and fuck him. I'm not doing it. And it hurt. So at that point, I said, okay, if that's what he wants. I deleted her number. I deleted his number. There's no reason to have it. He's got me blocked. There's no reason for me to call him.
Yeah.
Right. So, so that's how that went. And that was but usually around the holidays is when I start feeling like that sadness, where, like, that empty spot in my heart, because I see my mom going, fuck, how am I going to handle this year?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I can imagine it's, like, heavy for you because a lot of this is because of decisions you made when you were fucked up. So do you feel like you've forgiven yourself for that? In general, do you feel like you've forgiven yourself for everything that you've done?
I'd say not everything. Mm-hmm. I've forgiven myself for my part in some of the stuff, but not that I put that wedge between our family. I haven't forgiven myself, I don't think, for that. I think that's why it hurts so much, is I still haven't forgiven myself.
I know you're my cousin, so I see when you start getting angry about Michael. Yeah. Like, I know that's behind that anger is fear and sadness.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I mean, just every action, there's always a feeling behind it, right? You don't just get angry because you're fucking angry.
Yep.
You're hurt.
You're sad.
There's sadness. There's something behind that anger for you to feel that anger. And to identify that helps. And otherwise, if I just acted on my emotions, right, I would have already been on his doorstep.
Yes.
Already would have been on his doorstep. Fuck you. Let's go. You want to settle it? Let's settle it. But what's it really going to settle? Cops are going to get called. I'm going to be a counselor in jail.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to be like,
yeah.
you know, and it's one thing to go to jail when you're in addiction and you're dealing with drugs and alcohol use and going there sober with a clear mind and being like, well, how the fuck did I get here now?
Well, and that's a positive thing, I think, for the people that will listen to this, because I think, you know, you've talked me off the ledge a couple times when I've talked about, like, you know, how I want to react to
My dog is chewing so loud right now.
how I react to, like, have reacted to certain, you know, circumstances in my family where it's like, it is easy to want to, like, especially when it's your own family, get aggressive, like, get violent, like, you think you're 9 years old again, like, I'm gonna fucking push you off the top bunk. You know what
Somebody's
I mean?
head's going through the wall.
Yeah, or like shove you in the
We can't
closet.
fall off the top bunks anymore, guys. We're too big.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, you know, for me, like, just to end on that, the situation with Michael, like I said to your mom, I'm always going to remain hopeful because I'm not going to badmouth Michael. I can understand both sides. I'm always going to be oppositional.
And I'm not trying to badmouth him in this at all.
You could say whatever you want about him. He's
But
your
I'm just
brother.
saying, like, even when I threw him under the bus of the selling shit, like, that still has 90% of it was me, right? He's just giving me the money. But it's me making the stupid decisions.
But it's frustrating.
It is frustrating.
It's frustrating because your stuff was done in the light. You're the one getting the bad name when it's like nobody's hands are clean. So trust me, I get that.
And the way I look at it, I don't have to answer to him. Like, I don't have to. It's at the end of the day, you know what I mean. Like, what recovery has taught me is that, which I knew all along my whole life, is that there's one judge and it's God, right? So I'm a strong believer in God, even though I cuss a lot, even though I say a lot of stupid jokes, but to me, my God, right? The way I believe Jesus Christ is he's got a sense of humor, right? And if you're walking around here,
She's real funny.
She's hilarious.
If you walk around here all monotone and just not having a good time,
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Well, you've been a funny fucker since you were a little kid, so let's be honest.
I think I've opened up more since I was little. Like,
Yeah.
I think I was kind of shy when I was little.
We have different
Maybe not around you guys, but like at school, I think I was.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And that's another reason why I started using drugs, because I saw how much they opened me up.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
I think that's a very common story. I'm sure that you see too.
Well, and with alcohol, like they always say,
for sure.
it's like
Liquid courage.
Liquid courage.
Yeah.
This fucker gave two. Okay, for everybody who is possibly gonna listen to this, I have been in since I was a kid 23 weddings. Okay, so that's my reference point. Yes, haha, fucking I know. Everybody wants me to be in their wedding because I'm fucking great. But he gave the funniest and best, most iconic, what is it, best man speech ever.
So I was my brother's best man. That's how close we were. Like,
yeah. Ever so funny.
Like, I had the parents mad because of what I said. Like, were
they
things.
pissed? I thought it was amazing.
Oh,
I'm for the inappropriateness, though, as everyone could tell.
I don't know if you remember the last joke that I said. But this is really the only joke I remember because I was fucked up at the time.
I was gonna ask, what were you on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on Oxy and then not drinking alcohol the whole night. But I remember saying the last joke was, my brother said, if I did good on this best man speech, he'll let me be the best man at his next wedding.
Oh my god.
And her dad looked at me like, what the fuck?
It was a beautiful, like, elegant wedding. Like, yeah no,
even the bartender was like, you got free drinks the rest of the night because that's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, and the best, I remember it being like, the person really winning the prize here, did you say, like, was Michael or something like that? Like, he, like, led in with something like that.
Because Kelly's not winning a prize marrying Michael. but Michael's winning a prize because I can't remember how it went. But
I mean, after what you've said, I don't think anybody's winning a prize. But,
but
it was hilarious. So what do you feel like some of, like, okay, so you said, like, the replaying the tape, right? That's the verbiage you use?
Yeah, playing the tape through.
So what physically, like, you know, most, like, for example, my job, we do what's called PROACT training. So we have a self like basically like a talk down plan. So like if a kid has aggressive behavior, if I get bit, if I get scratched, whatever, and it's fight or flight. It doesn't matter what field you're in. I'll hold my thumb into my, not like a fist, but like hold my thumb in, or I'll deep breathe. Like, do you have anything physical coping skills you use?
I don't use any physical ones. I mean, we recommend things like snapping a rubber band. I don't find that, like snap a rubber band on your
Yeah, I feel like
wrist.
that just pissed me off more.
Well, I guess it's supposed to give you that sensation and especially like if you shoot up, right? It's that snap.
Yeah. Drop some counselor knowledge. Like, what could people do?
That flicking the light switch in your head is what they call it too, which I use this a lot, where you have that thought and then you imagine a light switch, you turn that light switch off and you flick it back on with a new thought.
So it's really like a lot of mental.
It's a lot of mental stuff that I use. Now you can go take a walk, you can go take a time out, you can go, whatever you want to do, you can go exercise. It's a thought stop, using thought stopping techniques is a big thing. So once you have that thought, how are you going to stop this thought? What are you going to put in place to that thought? What are you going to do if you need to stop that thought, right? So for me, I'm able to just play that tape through. That works for me every time. Like I never want to dig through a garbage can again. I never want to have CPS in my life again, because it was hell. It was hell living on the streets. It was hell being cold and not having nothing but a t-shirt and shorts on. Walking through Murata and it's all foggy and you get lost. Like, what the fuck am I doing in these $1 million homes right now? Walking through Murata.
Well, to be honest, you're talking about like the whole CPS process was hard. Like, the hard truths about that is, I don't really know about the women's side, but I have experienced from the men's side, and it feels like always set you up for success. We talked about this when we went on our vacation, where it's like you had your mom who could watch your daughter at any point. You had your mom who could, like, if you were at work and you had to leave to test, you were at school so you could make it work. Like,
still to this day.
What about those people who don't have family support, or don't have a car, or have to take a bus to their, to test randomly? Like,
so now there's more resources out there. So like, just like what I work for the county, right? And if you were to come to us and you took the bus, right, and you needed the bus to get home, we give you bus passes, right?
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So everything that's Medi-Cal driven is client centered. We don't use like that harsh counseling skills that was used when I was going through treatment, which was, you're going to do this or you're going to fucking lose your daughter.
Right? So it's not like a one or the other.
Yeah, no, so our program is all about harm reduction, or not really all about, but we want to see harm reduction. So like, got a dude that's smoking weed all the time, right? And we send the marijuana test out to, I know I'm sidetracked now, but we send the marijuana test to the lab, right, to get the THC levels. They measure them in nanograms. So 2,000 is off the charts. They won't even register anything off past 2,000. It'll just say above 2,000, it's off the charts. Anything below 15 is too low to register, so the line won't even. So his lines were off the charts, 2,000 and above, right? So I told him, start smoking CBD. Let's see what we can do to get you to come down. Like, get CBD flower and smoke it. And his levels went from above 2,000 down to like 300.
Oh wow!
Right, so that's harm reduction. So that's progress. So as long as you're making progress, we have to do a treatment plan for every client. So as long as you're making progress towards your treatment plan goals, we can't complete you if you're testing dirty, but it's a lot easier to get off of whatever you're using when your levels are that low.
Yeah.
Right? Then above 2,000, now you're at 300. Like, now you can stop for fucking 2 weeks. Give me a clean test. Stay clean now for 60 days, and we can complete you. You complete drug court, you're good to go, right? So the resources that we have that you were asking about, so bus passes, CPS will help you with housing. They do Section 8 now, right? So you can basically get front of the line to Section 8. Now from experience that you can't get Section 8 if you're on methadone or Suboxone. They won't give it to you. But if you're clean and off everything, they'll give you Section 8. They give you vouchers for IDs. They get you hooked up with, once you're already hooked up with Medi-Cal, they'll hook you up with like EBT cards, right? And to where you can get groceries for you and your kids. Like, I was getting, for me and Cadence, I want to say I was getting like almost $500 in food stamps a month, and then I was getting $600 cash off the same card. So I would go buy groceries, $500 worth of groceries, and then I could use it as an ATM card and pull out $600 cash. So I'm getting $1,100 a month, right? And then I was getting financial aid from school. So the resources, it's not as good as like having the support of a family member.
Right? I mean, no, it's
not.
I like that there are some, but yeah, I mean, just with rent, period.
I mean, there's a lot of people that have nobody. And are you seeing like race play a role? Any like in with the resources that are provided? Are you seeing a mix of male, female? Like, what's that? What are the statistics on that?
Way more males.
Way more men.
Way more men. And there's
and then what? Like, are you seeing?
So right now I don't
people
have one.
Of color?
I don't have one female client on my caseload.
Wow.
Whoa.
When I had 25, I had 2. Right. So we have 3 male counselors. This is how crazy this is. We only have 3 male counselors at my job. Right.
Out of
like 14.
Wow.
There's 3 males. Right. So us 3 males have to test all the male clients. So I have males of mine that I test, right? But then the females counselors, they can't test their male clients. So then we have days. So I do Thursday, Friday. Another counselor does Tuesday, Wednesday, and then one of the other counselors he has a crazy caseload, so he just does one day. He does Mondays.
Yeah.
But we have to test them all, and there's way more men. Now race, it's mixed. It's probably evenly mixed. Mm-hmm. I noticed that mental health in whites and in blacks seems a lot higher than like Hispanics or Asians. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's because they don't. It might be against their culture to talk about it.
I was going to say, you can speak about the Hispanic piece of that.
Oh, definitely.
They don't talk about it. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not something. If you have that, you're looked down upon in their cultures.
That's something that we talked about with our last interview we did. Just the stigma of like men and seeking help, and that's my friend we talked to, he's Filipino, first gen, and it's similar with Hispanics. Like look, a lot of my personal perspective on watching, observing as I was growing up with my dad. Like you didn't talk about it. You put it on your shoulders and you took it on the chin and you kept it moving. You don't talk about your issues. And I always compare my dad to like a clown. When he was in front of our family, he was happy, and to this day, he was our favorite uncle, and he was smiling. It's like, yeah, when we were at home, he was crying at night because he was so wasted. He was finally letting all that trauma and emotion and things out that Vince and I had to listen to that nobody else knew about.
It's tired. It's tiring putting on that face every day.
It's exhausting.
And I can relate to that just early in my addiction, right? Of putting on that face in front of the family of nothing's wrong, everything's okay, and then at night it's not. It's like at night is when you release, because now you're not around anybody. Now I can feel how I feel and let it actually come out.
Well, I feel like you would always be, especially in the beginning, always feel like, okay, I have to be on my best behavior, because you're trying to rebuild trust with all these people. So it's like, I can't be on any shaky ground. And so I can't speak from experience, but it seems like
you have to hold a composure, because you don't want anybody to know, even though everybody knows. Everybody knows when you're fucked up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Everybody knows when you have a problem. When you're showing up to Christmas and you're drooling on your presents.
Yeah.
Like, there's a problem.
You're nodding off because you're tired. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me go lay on grandma's couch because I'm tired.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
If you're spending like every holiday super hungover, like
4th of July, people are outside swimming. You're inside sleeping on the couch. Like,
yeah. Well, and also too, like one of the things I did want to say is I don't always think, we kind of try to like talk about in the beginning, like what childhood experiences maybe like pushed you into using. Was there traumas? I don't think it's always about that for some people, because a lot of what I've seen just as I'm getting older too is, a lot of friends or their husbands or like, people that are parallel to me, it's that pressure of that image of life. I got to get a bigger house. I have to make money.
It's living up to that expectation.
Yes.
And so for me, like, I don't think it was so much that it was. It's scary growing up, and then what sucks is when you're growing up and you have a shitty step parent. So like my stepdad
Yeah.
at the time,
Yeah.
not the one that passed away from cancer, but my mom's second husband,
Yeah.
treated my brother like he couldn't do no wrong and treated me like shit. So, like, you know, being 8 years old, what do 8-year-olds do? They're fidgety, they do stuff, you know, they're playing G.I. Joes and shit like that, and you'd be like, are you gonna keep fucking moving over there?
Yeah.
Like, I'm playing with my G.I. Joe, bud. I'm 8 years old.
Yeah.
You know?
Supposed to be
He didn't
moving
just
around.
let you be a kid.
Yeah, throwing a remote towards me, you know?
Yeah.
And doing, like, he never hit me, but just the verbal abuse that was there, that I wasn't good enough, and a lot of it I know because I look like my dad, right? And he hated my dad. My dad didn't like him.
Yeah.
And so he treated me different, where my brother didn't really look like my dad. He looks like my mom more. But I could never say anything right when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Everything was wrong. Everything was stupid. And that, on top of just being scared of growing up and moving to different stages through life, I think is what made me not experiment, but made me say, okay, this takes it away though. This makes me feel better. I don't
It's an escape.
I don't feel those feelings anymore, and I can say what I want now and do what I want now and feel comfortable about it, you know? Where before it was like I always had to like question what I was about to say. So when I'm questioning what I'm about to say, it's not coming out how I want to say it, because in my head I'm like, should I be saying this or should I not be saying it? So now I'm stuttering. You know, now it's I'm repeating words like and not finishing my sentences, right? So when that stopped was when the drugs started. Right? Now I can say whatever the fuck I want to say, however I feel, and I can give two shits what you think or what you think. Right? You're going to say whatever you're going to say no matter what. And just like even now, like, I don't want to say this about my dad and my stepmom, but I know every time I go to my dad's house, there's going to be one time where I'm like offended or insulted or just thrown back at like, you just fucking said that. Now, if I go in there with the mindset of saying, all I got to do is get past that one. Once that one happens and I just let it roll off, it goes away, right? But if I go in there thinking, fuck, here we go. Come on, what do you got to say? And then I fucking react to what they say, now it just spirals down and it keeps going, right?
I mean, and that's 99% of life, right? Like, that's been
How
my
we're looking at it.
literal hardest lesson to this day is my reaction. Because I don't give a fuck what people think about me. I think everybody knows that. But yeah, there's times that people like get in, and I'm like, oh, why did I react to that? You know, and it's hard because it will mess up your whole, like, you're going, and it'll stop you in your tracks.
What I have to think too is they don't know what they're saying is insulting. They don't know what they're saying is actually offensive, and that I'm gonna get hurt by it. So let's just don't even react to it.
Has less to do with you.
It's gone. They're not trying to be that way. That's just how they're programmed because they were raised differently, right? Yeah. So like you're talking about like the Hispanic culture, right? You put that shit on your shoulders and you fucking carry it, right?
Yeah.
That's how a lot of our parents grew up, because a lot of our parents back in the 50s and 60s, right? That's how it was. There was mental health issues, but there was no mental health issues talked about back then. There was no, just like addiction. Back then, addiction wasn't, okay, let's put them in a rehab. It was, let's put them in a psych ward.
Yeah.
That's what that was.
This is very similar to what we were talking about with Mark, too. Just, it's very different, and it can be frustrating at times, but it's also a blessing that we have the tools that we have now versus what our parents had. Like, they really didn't have much at all.
Well, to be honest, this all aligns with, like, the purpose of why Melissa and I want to do this and have people on here that are, like, willing to share their truth, right? Because there's going to be people, like I said with Mark, that watch this and have something negative to say about me, you, her, what we're talking about, blah, blah, blah. There's always going to be those like interfering thoughts that are going to tell you you're not good enough and you're not this. And when you're an 8-year-old child and you have an adult telling you that, sometimes that becomes a dialogue for your life.
Yeah. Because now you're growing up around that. You're programmed now to where you're not good enough. So no matter, and what's crazy is when you look at all the support that I had growing up, and all the compliments of growing up, right?
Yeah.
And my mom and my grandma and cousins, you know, hanging out and having a good time. But that's not molding me. What's molding me is that negative bullshit that's being told to me, and that's what I'm focusing on, and that's why now I'm going to be a hermit, or now I'm going to, stay isolated and not do shit because I feel I'm not good enough when I have 30 people telling me that I am, but that one person is telling me I'm not. That's who I'm focusing on, which
Yep.
is crazy about our
It's
brains.
easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
We focus on the negative way more than we focus on the positive. Mm-hmm. And it's like that with everything. We'll focus on that one bad comment in our post.
Yep.
Right? We're going to give that validation rather than the 30 people that say,
We're going to react to that.
yeah.
You know,
we're going to type
but
some
also,
bullshit.
but also in the same sense, I actually commend those people who speak up on those posts when it's like 40 people saying blah, 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 blah. And one person's like, well, I don't agree with this.
I'm not talking about anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like if you put up a personal post, right?
Yeah.
Or like
Somebody like a picture.
a picture or like
Yeah.
an event. And then, oh, the event was great. The event was great. The event was great. Oh, we walked in. We had poor service. Person sucked. Didn't wait on us. Da da da.
We just went
That's
through
how
this.
Like-
that human is walking through this world, though.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
Let's not fucking look at that shit. Like, okay, one person had a bad experience. Look at all the people that had good experiences.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, there's a difference between being negative or like constructive feedback and being negative.
Absolutely.
Right? Because it's like I could walk in a restaurant and be like, it's a little like chillier in here than I thought, but like everything else was amazing. I'm not gonna write a review about like how it was like 7 degrees too cold in there for
Body
me.
temperature.
When I was in
Yeah, like okay.
When I was in Vegas, I went to this restaurant called Batista's Hole in the Wall.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was on Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you see it on the outside, it just looks like a normal restaurant. It's right there by the MGM, right? It looks like a normal restaurant. And you're like, okay. And then you walk in, and it just looks like a shithole inside. Like there's all this stuff hanging. It's dark. It's dingy looking. And you walk in, and you're like, this can't be good. Mm-hmm. And then you get the food, and you're like, this is fucking amazing.
I feel like
They
that's
should have named it Batista's shithole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like that was just a metaphor for like my whole existence.
Yeah.
You walk in, she's dark, she's dingy, she's intimidating, but then you
Get
get
in
to
there.
know her, she's a soft core.
Yes. So I just have a couple questions because I know we've kept you for a long time. I appreciate you.
You know, you do have a child to go home to, sorry.
We
She's
appreciate
already
you
asleep.
being super
It's
vulnerable.
bedtime.
Good.
Yeah.
It's about bedtime too.
Yeah.
So this is something that I'm just curious about. So early on, you obviously had access to liquor. I think a lot of us, not every household, but a lot of us found, alcohol around and were exposed to that. But then you really touched on like pills being a big thing too. Did you ever blame your dad during any of this for like having those around, or did your dad ever feel guilty about having that, or when you came out of recovery the first time, him giving you alcohol?
So
Did that ever come up, I guess?
I've never talked to my dad about that time he gave me the beer.
You want to just
Right.
send him this link?
That's not his. So just like I said, so he went to every family group and he thought the disease concept was fucking bullshit, right? That is a choice, blah, 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 right? But me as an addict, and I sat through not just every family group, but every single group, every single day, 3 times a day, right? I had the knowledge to not drink that beer. I could have easily thrown it back and said, Dad, this isn't a thing. We don't do this no more.
Yeah.
Right? And I could have changed everything right then and there. We have our path that we go down, and everything happens for a reason, and I believe that because if
100%.
if I got sober then, I wouldn't have cadence, right? If I got sober then, I wouldn't be a counselor today. There's
such
things
a
that we do
beautiful
that
way to look at it.
yeah, there's things that we do that happen in our past. I tell this to my clients, and I go, I don't care if you believe in God, you don't believe in God, if you believe in a higher power, if you don't believe in a higher power, whatever the fuck you want to believe, everything happens for a reason, right? When we pray and we ask for something, it's never no. God never says no. Mm-mm. Not right now, maybe, right? Or he's going to tell you, hey, hang on, because I got a better yes over here for you, right? We're going to postpone this so I can bless you with this, right? So going through life, if you look at stuff like that and you look at like, God slapped me multiple times through my life to try to wake me up, right? Whether it was, losing, having to move out of my house, right? Having all my shit in the garage waiting. And then he blessed me with my dad showing up with the van, right? And then he slaps me again and says, fuck, I need to go to rehab. No, I don't. Yes, you do. So I go to rehab, then I come out and he slaps, and then he slaps me with that beer. And I don't want to say he tests me. I don't think God tests people, but the devil will test you, right? I believe the devil tests people. So the devil threw me that beer, and I said, okay, let's do this. And then I made those choices to continue to drink. God kept slapping me, and until I was hit hard enough with my daughter being taken away, every mistake that I made that I didn't improve on remained a mistake. Every mistake that I made that I learned from is now an opportunity, right, and a blessing. So if you look at all the mistakes that you've made in your life and you actually look at them, which ones have you actually improved on? And which ones have you just said, fuck it, I'm not doing it? And I guarantee you still have a problem with whatever that mistake was. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you take that mistake and you flip it and you say, this is a learning experience, what can I do different so this shit doesn't happen again? It's going to change everything. Like now, every decision I make, is this going to benefit not just me, but is it going to benefit Cadence? Is it going to benefit my mom? Right? Is it going to benefit my family? And if it doesn't, if it's not going to benefit any of those, there's no reason to make that decision. There's no reason to go do that, because it's going to be a mistake if it doesn't benefit any of those things. If you're okay, so obviously we're going to go still have fun, right? Now, us going to have fun at a 4th of July party with our family is going to benefit everybody, right? Me saying, I'm not coming to the family barbecue this year because I'm going to go over here and I'm going to fucking drink myself stupid. Mm-hmm. Doesn't benefit me, doesn't benefit my family, right? Because I know where it's going to lead me, right? So getting in the car at the middle of the night to go get a fucking midnight snack, is that going to benefit anybody? Like,
depends on what that snack is.
I'm all,
but you know what I mean? Like, is that going to benefit anybody? Like, what if I go out, say, like, if I didn't have the freaking gas station down at the corner of my house, but I lived out in the country at my dad's house where I got to drive 5 miles to the fucking nearest gas station and go down a frontage road at 12 o'clock at night. What if some shit happens? Is it going to benefit me? No.
Yeah.
Right? So
all for them fucking Cheetos.
All for the fucking Ben and Jerry's ice cream. God damn it. But so I just look at it, you know, if it doesn't benefit me, I won't do it, or I'll think twice about doing it.
Yeah.
You know, using a midnight snack as a, I guess, analogy or whatever you want to call it. That's not really a good analogy for that, but.
No, I think that's a perfect analogy, because what I'm hearing is you're basically more aware of your choices and the consequences of your choices. Yeah. That's what I hear you saying, right? Like, the analogies are nice because it allows the listeners to, like, oh, okay, like, I see it. But that's what it is. It's being aware of your choices, being aware of the consequences.
So if you take that analogy and you see how easy it is to go get ice cream, you see how easy it is to go get Cheetos, right? It's just as easy for me to go get heroin, right? It's just as easy for me to go get Chris. I can walk outside my work and I can ask the first person that's walking by. I guarantee they got it.
Yeah, what is the deal with all the NA and AA places being like near bars or like in horrible areas? Is that like, let me put you in the ultimate temptation?
So there is a actual NA meeting in Lodi that is over by Dennis Country Kitchen now. So it's in a nice area.
Oh, thank God.
Which is a blessing, because the one on Main Street is.
Yeah.
I would not.
It's crack alley.
I don't ever go there. I've never been there one time because I've gotten high in the Star Motel.
Yeah.
It's not a thing. I don't go there.
You're just walking right by all the places.
I'm not doing that. So, but like Cherokee Fellowship is on Cherokee in Stockton, right? It's across the street from New Directions. But it's in a bad neighborhood, but there's nothing around there. There's not a bar. There's not people. The only reason you should be in that area is if you live across the street or you're going in there.
Yeah.
Or the tire shop that's next door, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it's still in a bad neighborhood. But,
which could be a front, but just kidding.
Yeah. So the guy that owns the tire shop actually owns the Cherokee building too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
he's straight.
Definitely a front.
Yeah. He's trying to say, look what I'm doing, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just really have 2 more questions, and if Stacy has anything else, what do you do for yourself now, to like feed your soul, I guess?
I work out a lot, and I was losing a lot of weight, and then I gained some weight back.
Oh, that's relationship weight.
But working out helps me a lot, because it still gives me like a rush.
Yeah,
you know
a lot of people say that.
Gives me a rush, and I love the pre-workout drinks that I drink, because it doesn't make me. The pre-workouts that I drink don't make me feel like I'm on dope. Like I'll start feeling like a tingling in my face, and I'm like, okay, it's about to kick in. And then once I start working out, then it's just adrenaline going. So I'll do that. A lot of it has to do with just trust. You know what I mean? You gotta trust the process. You gotta trust that there is a reason why we're here. Mm-hmm. There's a purpose for why we're here, and I never knew what my purpose was. And you know, when I lived at my mom's house for a little bit, when Glenn was still alive, Glenn had 2 motorcycles. I went on a motorcycle ride, right? And I got in a head-on collision on Twin Cities Road. Gosh. And I flew over the car, landed in the middle of the road,
I didn't even
tumbled.
know that.
Huh?
I didn't even know that.
No?
Uh-uh.
Tumbled over the car and didn't hit the car, but went over the car, right? Hit the ground, tumbled, popped up, ran out of the street, and another van came skidding to a stop, right?
Fuck.
And there was like 5 cars that stopped, and I'm standing there, and this one guy walks up to me, and he was an off-duty firefighter, and he had a med kit in his truck. And
it's crazy,
right?
yeah.
Just shit happens like that, right? And I'm standing there. I should have broken bones. I was doing 50 miles an hour. I should have broke bones. And I'm standing there, and he goes, okay, where's all this blood coming from? And I looked down, and I seen all the blood, and that was it for me. I was fucking started to pass out. So he held me, he sat me down.
That was it for me, dog.
Yeah.
Huh?
I'm tapping out.
Yeah. So I had a hole in my elbow.
Oof.
That was, you couldn't see the bone, but it was super deep, and it was just it was a hole.
Ugh.
It wasn't a tear. It was a hole, like a chunk of meat just went.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Right.
Fuck.
So, he wrapped that up, and then CHP shows up. My mom shows up because Glenn called my mom. CHP shows up, and then an ambulance shows up. They get me in the ambulance. They rush me to UC Davis, and they do all these tests on me, MRIs, CAT scans. There's nothing wrong, other than that hole in my arm. And then I got some road rash on my ankle and on my legs and my arms. And there's nothing wrong with me at all. And they're like, somebody's watching out for you. Well, when I was, remember I told you I rolled on the ground and then I got up and I ran off the road? Mm-hmm. So that van that came skidding to a stop, before that firefighter came up to me, I walked up to that van, and there was a dad, a mom, and 2 kids, and the kids are crying. The mom's crying, and the dad's like this, like just white knuckled, like staring straight. And he's saying, did I hit him? Did I hit him? And then the wife looks over at me and she goes, he's right next to you. So he didn't even see me get up.
Yeah.
The wife said it looked like I was carried off the road, like I got up so fast.
Oh my gosh.
So something happened there. Like for me not to break a bone.
Yeah.
My mom shows up. She's all fucking, tripped out because, and Glenn says it was the worst accident he's seen, right? And then I end up at UC Davis. There's nothing wrong with me. They let me go that night. They give me some pain pills. Here you go. And that was that. Mm-hmm. The next day I felt like I was hit by a freight train.
I'm sure.
Right? I remember waking up and my arms were sticking to the sheets because of my road rash. I had to peel it off, and it was awful. Yeah. But so there's a reason why we're here. There's a purpose why we're here, and I remember like thinking like, why was I saved there? Like people don't live through that.
Yeah.
What's the purpose? And at that time I didn't know the purpose, right? Through my whole life I was like, I have no purpose. I'm working at a fucking bike shop. I'm not going nowhere in life, Mm-hmm. I had nothing going for me, and looking back at it, all these things happen for a reason. I don't know what the purpose of that was, but it was a good time so what sucked was I didn't have a motorcycle license. Glenn was taking me out on this bike, right? He had his Harley and I was driving this other Harley. I had no motorcycle license, and we'd do these quick trips to like Jackson or Ione, go grab a bite to eat and come back. So the accident ended up being my fault because I didn't have a license.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the reason was for the accident, but I know what the reason why I didn't die in the accident. I know the reason why I'm still here. I'm not crippled, mm-hmm. right? And it's all the things that have happened through my life that have added up to this moment, right? Is I'm here to help people through whatever it is that they're going through. I was working the Asparagus Festival, right? Mm-hmm. And my girlfriend's assistant, she's going through some stuff with her daughter, and I just happened to be there when some shit blew up, and they were going back and forth at it, and I just looked at the daughter. I said, I don't know you. I know of you. I don't know you, but you shouldn't be talking to your mom that way. You know what I mean? This is not how we talk. Like you're 15 and you want to be treated like an adult, and that's what you're telling your mom. Adults don't yell at each other like that.
Yeah.
Right? Adults don't cuss at each other. And I like talked to this girl. So this girl, she does self-harm.
Yeah.
Right? The mom doesn't know what to do. The mom's sitting there crying. So I talked with the mom and gave her some suggestions and gave the daughter some suggestions at a different time. And, you know.
Well, I feel like you've given us a lot of resources. We do, I think, want to, do you have, I think you had another question.
I just had a final question, but it's going to be like the last question. So did you have anything else?
No, I think I got to answer everything or ask everything I want.
I got to say everything. I think if you could just end this with talking, if I'm 22, 23-year-old Brett and I am in a sticky situation and as you found yourself at 22, 23, what would you tell baby Brett?
I would just I think the main thing that I would say is just hold on. Just hang on. It's everything works out, because at 22, 23, I didn't want to live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't care what happened to me. So I would say hold on. You know, it's a roller coaster. People are going to doubt you. And the reason they're doubting you is because they don't believe in your vision and where you want to go. Because I remember the first time I went to Recovery House, the first time I went there, like 30 days in, me and another client were talking, and we're like, let's be counselors. Let's see what it takes to be counselors. Like, these fucking counselors that we have here are slapsticks, we call them, right? They're slapsticks. They shouldn't even be counselors. So let's go prove them wrong. So like back then I knew that that's what I wanted to do, right? And I fell away from it right when I grabbed that beer. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't change anything about the past.
Yeah.
The people that are doubting you, it's because they don't believe in your vision. They don't believe in you, and you're doing something different.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And when you're doing something different, you're going to have doubters and you're going to have haters.
Yep.
And even when I got out of program and I started to go to school for this, I had doubters. I had people saying, you're going to be a counselor? Like, come on, dude. Everybody says they're going to be a counselor once they get out of rehab. Who actually follows through with it? I said, okay. That's fine. Watch. Now I have court case managers that was my court case manager calling me up, asking me for help, right? I have court case managers in DUI court, felony drug court, revocation court, referring clients to me through my supervisors, saying we want this guy to be with Brett. I don't want nobody else. I want him to be with Brett. So to be able to completely flip that script and be successful at what I do, like I don't make a lot of money, right? I don't do this shit for the money. Like you were talking earlier, we don't do this shit for the money.
Nope. God knows I don't do it for the money.
I do it because, and I say this to my clients, I do this, it's not just to help them. It helps me. I learn from them.
Probably checks you too.
I learn from them. It reminds me, and I tell this to my clients all the time, this is kind of going off from what you said, but you guys help me more than you know. And I said, how you guys help me is when you guys are new and you come back and you come in here, or you leave and you come back. Not one time has a person came back and said, it's fucking awesome out there. I'm fucking shooting up heroin every day. I got a badass job. Got this sick ass car out here. The cops aren't fucking with me, right? And I got this big ass house and I have this great life. They come back and they have all these fucking arrows in their back.
Yeah. And
they're fucking tore up. Mm-hmm. That right there. So I say, you know what I call you guys? I call you guys scouts. You guys are like the scouts for the Indians. You guys go out. Mm-hmm. Oh, fuck, they're here. And you run back with all these fucking arrows in your ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it reminds me that it still isn't working out there.
Yeah.
You know, so back to what you said, like what would I tell myself is that basically just hold on. It's going to be all right. White knuckle this shit. It's a roller coaster. It doesn't matter what you're going through in life, if it's addiction or just life in general. It's a roller coaster, and everything has its ups and downs.
It's ebbs and flows.
Yeah, and you know, there's always good times and there's always bad times.
Yep.
And it's what you do with those times that make life worth it.
I love it.
So,
Well, I'm proud of you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, I am also very proud of you, and I just met you today. So
you.
congratulations. I know that everybody's story doesn't have the same type of evolution, and so I know that this is just the beginning for you, but it's still good to hear, and hopefully this brings a little bit of hope to anybody in a similar situation to you.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much.
A beautiful mess.